Welcome everybody. Hey, hello. My name is Kelly Conant. I am your YouTube host today. I am super excited to have you here as part of the What is New Inside of MetaStock 18 presentation. Today our presenter will be Jeff Gibby. He'll be talking to you about what's new. If you missed yesterday's presentation that I did, you get to see Jeff Gibby. And tomorrow we'll be having Bobby Hiller present. So taking the opportunity to show everybody what is new and exciting inside of MetaStock 18. There are lots of great enhancements inside of MetaStock. So we're super excited today to show you what is new inside of MetaStock and what you can do with the new MetaStock program. So again, we'll be getting started in about 8 minutes here. If you are not familiar with MetaStock, I'm going to show you just a quick video, an introduction to MetaStock, who we are, what we do. So let me go ahead and play that for you, and I'll be back with you in just a moment.
Hi there, Greg Lewis, MetaStock Software. As the marketing director, I get asked all the time, what is MetaStock? How can I help my trades? Well, stick around for about 3 minutes and I'll tell you. MetaStock is an award-winning software and data package that has been helping traders for over 35 years. Simply put, MetaStock is a tool for traders like you to analyze the markets. MetaStock helps you take the guesswork out of trading by offering a methodical, systematic approach to some key questions all traders come up against. Questions like, how do I decide which securities to trade when there are literally thousands to choose from? Which strategy should I use, and how do I test that strategy before spending my first trading dollar? When should I enter and exit a trade? How can I effectively manage the securities I'm interested in? And of course, how do I know where prices will go next? At the core of MetaStock are the power tools. The power tools give professional-grade analysis tools to private traders like you and me. You can scan the market with the MetaStock Explorer to filter and sort securities that show buy and sell signals based on your criteria. The MetaStock System Tester lets you test most strategies through a process called backtesting, which allows you to see how your strategy would have performed over time. You can easily manage and monitor the securities you are interested in with Quote Center. Quote Center lets you sort on a variety of criteria to view the data that's important to you. Then just double-click on a security if you want to see its chart. With the MetaStock Forecaster, you can even take advantage of patented technology to view probable future prices. If you're an options trader, you're going to love MetaStock's Optionscope. Optionscope puts all the critical info at your fingertips, displaying sortable, customizable, color-coded options data, including the Greeks. And MetaStock has solutions for traders of all levels and interests. If you're just getting into trading, you will appreciate the education offered by our many built-in systems. In addition to pointing out buy and sell signals, MetaStock explains how they work in an easy-to-follow commentary window. MetaStock has built-in systems based on popular strategies like MACD, Bollinger Bands, turtle trading, CandleSticks, and many more. MetaStock even has the very popular and exclusive Rahul Mohindar Oscillator System, or simply known as the RMO. And as you become a more experienced trader, MetaStock grows with you. Advanced analysts will enjoy the comprehensive list of trading systems and indicators and the ability to build their own systems. And if you're a day trader, you can't do better than Zenith, the real-time news, data, and analysis package offered by Refinitiv, a world leader in market data. Add on the world-class support, and it's not hard to see why MetaStock has won the Stocks and Commodities Reader's Choice Award for 26 consecutive years. To find out more about MetaStock and how it can help your trading, visit metastock.com or contact a product professional via phone, email, or chat.
Okay, great. Well, there's an introduction into MetaStock, who we are, what we do. Again, in this presentation, we're going to be talking about what is new inside of MetaStock 18, and there is a lot new inside of MetaStock 18. So we're very excited tonight to have Jeff Gibby present to you what is new inside MetaStock 18, give you an overview of all these new features and enhancements that we've added into the software. I am just going to go check with Jeff, make sure he is up and ready to go, and then I will be right back with you. Okay, looks like Jeff is all ready to go, so we're going to go ahead and start on time here in about 2 minutes. Just some of the things we're going to be talking about tonight. So inside MetaStock 18, there is a brand new chart. So we have worked to build the chart from the ground up. Jeff's very excited to show you all these great new features of the chart and what you can do in those enhancements in the chart with all its capabilities. We've added in some new functionality into the Optionscope program. That's really cool. I'm really excited about some ease of use features inside of the Power Console. Some I can't live without anymore, so there's some great ones in there. But there is a lot to see, a lot to learn about inside MetaStock 18. Whether you already have MetaStock 18 or you're here to learn about it and see if you want to get it, there is a lot to learn. So we're going to go ahead and get started in about a minute and a half. But while we are just getting ready to load here, one of the things that you'll want to do and check out is our upcoming Traders Summit. If you go to metastock.com/traders-summit, you'll be able to see an upcoming schedule of our Trader Summit this coming Monday. Lots of great free education that you can take advantage of. That's all you have to do is register. Go to metastock.com/traders-summit and you will be able to see that. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything prepped over here for the presentation so Jeff can get going, and let's get this ball rolling. Okay, we are ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and get the drum roll going here and enjoy the presentation.
All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well today. Thanks for coming. My name is Chef Gibby. I'm going to be reading a legal disclaimer and talking about all the cool stuff that we've added in 18. So I want to say thanks for coming. I do have all of the questions ready to go here. If you have questions, make sure to actually ask them, and I'll be happy to kind of talk to them. Anyway, hope you're doing well today. Let's start with this legal disclaimer. So today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock and the accompanying software plugins. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. So I want to say thank you for coming. I hope you're having a good day, a good Wednesday. It's been a little bit snowy here, but it looks like the sun's coming out. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. Welcome. Thank you for coming. We are, just to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up, today I'm just going to be talking about the new things that we've added for 18. And it's a very, very big list. So I assume that you've probably used MetaStock or you're interested in MetaStock. I'm going to say right here, right at the front, that we're probably going to go over a little bit on time. We did this, I've done this webinar and this demonstration before with all of our dealers as kind of a training session. And I actually went about 30 minutes over. I don't anticipate that I'm going to go that far over tonight, but I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't go 20 minutes over. So we've got a lot to go through. This upgrade is probably one of the biggest that we've done in quite some time. And I do want to make sure that we have a chance to talk about all of it. So as we go, if you have questions, I will periodically look at the questions. If you have comments, if you want to say anything, go ahead and say it. And I'll keep an eye open for it. So as you can see here, this is kind of a bit of a list of all of the changes that were made. We're just going to start at the top of this list and talk about the charting engine first and foremost. With technical analysis, with MetaStock, charting is very, very key. You know, technical analysis started with the rice traders looking at candlesticks that they had drawn on paper, and it's always been about the charts. MetaStock 18 has a brand new charting engine that we've put into it. And so without further ado, let's just kind of dive into the new charting and what's kind of available in there. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the new charting, the charting styles. We're going to talk about themes. We're going to talk about the indicators, the scroll functionality, drawing tools, and chart usability. And let's go ahead and start in MetaStock with chart styles. So let me go ahead and go into MetaStock right here. I do have a chart that's open. I actually was just looking at the IWM for whatever reason. What you probably notice with the chart is it's fairly, it's hard to describe, but it's a lot cleaner looking. It's a brand new charting object. All of the chart in MetaStock, the entire, what we call the chart object, has been redesigned. And it's a brand new engine, completely brand new. In it, as part of it, we did talk a little bit about the charting styles, and I want to kind of go through what those are with you here. So one of the things that I actually was talking to about with one of our customers today is we've kind of added a lot of functionality, but we've kept things in very similar places. So if you're familiar with using MetaStock, if you're familiar with using other Windows applications, this is going to be a pretty easy upgrade for you. You're not gonna have to learn kind of where everything is. You're just gonna have better visuals and better changes. So if right now we're obviously looking at a candlestick chart, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double click on the chart, and we'll just kind of talk a little bit about the different line studies that are available here as part of it. So what I'm gonna do here is we'll just start with bars, and we'll go ahead and apply this as a change, and you'll notice that we have bars that are kind of put on the chart. You'll notice that you have an up color and a down color. Those are the same as kind of the options that were available in MetaStock before. But one of the things that they've added here is the ability to kind of change the way that it considers it an up candle or down candle. In the legacy version of MetaStock, if it was an up candle, if the close was higher than the previous close. And that's our default method for measuring an up candle in MetaStock on a bar format. However, if you want to, you can now set that to an open to close relationship. So if I set this to an open to close relationship and apply it to the chart, it'll now look at the close and compare it to where the open was, and will consider an up day if the close is higher than the open. Similar to the way that you would do it like in a traditional candlestick chart. Okay, so in terms of that, I'm going to go ahead and go over to candlestick chart, because the default that we've got now for candlestick charts is to look at that open close relationship. And I think this is kind of very important for people that are new to MetaStock, particularly because they're used to what you're used to looking at an open close relationship. In other words, if the open is higher than the close, you've got a hollow candle, and it's usually green. If it's close to close relationship, if the close is above the open, or the close is below the open, I mean to say, then we would color the candles red, which is very, very traditional. With MetaStock, what we would do is we'd use that close to close relationship by default, which you can still do. That's still a setting that you can use. But by default, it's going to look at the open to close relationship, which makes it a lot easier, a lot more intuitive, and a lot more of what you might be used to looking at when you're looking at candlesticks. Okay. Again, we do have the up-down mode field. We also have the ability, and this is like if you like to print charts and you want to fill in the candles all the time, we do have the ability to either always fill them or only fill the down candles. So if I have always fill, you'll notice we have all of the candles are always filled in. I actually don't prefer that. For me, I like to see kind of open candles. I'm going to apply that. So now I'm looking at properly colorized open to close relationship candles. But in addition to that, I'm only filling the candles in that are down candles, which is the way we've kind of done it traditionally with MetaStock. The other thing that I'll also kind of point out with the parameters is we now have the ability to set a color of the down candle, and we have an ability to set the fill color. So right here, you've got the down color and a down fill. You've got the up color, and if we're filling in the candle, you have an up fill, but I've basically turned off the fill color. If I wanted to change the fill color, for example, I could come in here, and now I could set it to a little bit of a different color. Now I wouldn't set it to red, but we can set it to this red. One of the other things I want to point out is it does keep the default up here, but I also have an ability to set like the opacity for most of these things as well, including the fill color. So right here, if I was to change this, let's go ahead and apply that. You'll notice that it's completely filled in. If I kind of wanted it to be a little bit more opaque, I come in here, and if I just click on the Advanced tab, I can set the opacity value to what I want it to be. So I can kind of turn this down. I could look at it at 26. Go ahead and click on Apply here, and you'll notice that it's filled in, but it's filled in a lot more subtly than it was before. So it gives you a lot more control in terms of what is there. All right, very cool. Let's go ahead and kind of just keep working down the different things. We did keep CandleVolume. You still do have those options with CandleVolume in terms of the fill volume. If you're not familiar with CandleVolume, it just basically, I'll apply it real quick so you can kind of see what it looks like. It makes the candles thicker if there's more volume. So you see with like these big volume days, it kind of makes the bars way thicker so that they're more pronounced on the chart. And that's an option that's been available in MetaStock for a long time. It's available now as part of the upgrade, but in addition to that, you still have the additional options as well. We still have EquiVolume, and we've also added, by popular demand, I might add, Heiken-Ashi. So if I go ahead and apply Heiken-Ashi on the chart, you'll notice that we have an up color, a down color, and a down fill. I'll go ahead and just apply this as a Heiken-Ashi chart. It's going to go ahead and redraw it for me based on the Heiken-Ashi charting style. So you notice we have an up color, we've got a down fill. If you're not familiar with Heiken-Ashi, that's okay. It is a different charting style. If you want to learn more about it and you're not familiar with it, I might suggest the resource of investopedia.com. What they do is they use a little bit of a smoothing for the high and the low, or I'm sorry, for the open and the close, to kind of give you a kind of a clearer chart of a more smooth chart, let's say it that way. So for the first time ever, we've included Heiken-Ashi as a default charting style. Hello, ERB. Thanks for coming. Let me know if you have questions as well. All right. Let's go into line right here. And for line, if you want to do line charts, we've actually added quite a few different plot styles. And some of these plot styles, as you start to apply indicators, are also going to be available to you. So I'm going to go ahead and basically leave the line as the price style as a line, the plot style as a line. We'll leave the up and down colors as they are. We'll just go ahead and apply that to the chart, and you can see it's a fairly standard line chart. In terms of styles that we have available, we could do this as a stepped line, which just basically kind of gives you a step to look to it, for lack of a better word. They named it well, didn't they? We could come in down in here, and there's a filled line. So if I go ahead and click on OK, you'll be able to see that it's filled in. And I do have different colors for up and down days. I do have the ability to set the opacity for those as well to make them lighter and darker if I want. We have a step filled line. You can also do a dot and a histogram. So there's quite a few different options in terms of the way that you like to plot these and apply them. And you'll notice that it's not, the charts look brand new. They're dynamic. They feel a little smoother. It's hard to describe that they just look better, right? But in terms of manipulating these charts, it hasn't really changed all that much. So there's not going to be, like I said earlier, a huge learning curve for you. So I'm going to go ahead and set this back to the candlesticks and click on OK here. And we'll work for the most part with candlesticks for the rest of the things. So, but to recap what we were just talking about, here's the new charting styles and the customizations. You've got the bars, candlesticks, CandleVolume, EquiVolume, Heiken-Ashi, line, stepped line, dot, histogram, step filled line, and the filled line. So there you go. In addition, the next thing I want to talk about is themes. So one of the things that we want to do, themes are becoming more and more popular, more and more prevalent in they're Nikon, but in different things that are available in different software programs. Even my phone has themes where I can do a dark mode or a light mode. And we wanted to kind of make it easy to kind of change the look and feel for you for your charts. And so we are introducing in MetaStock 18 the concept of themes. Hello, Vincenzo. Thanks for joining. Good to see you today. The theme button, if I want to change themes, is right here. Okay, it's just this little color palette. And all of the themes that are available right here. So very, very easily, if I wanted to look at more of a black theme, I can go ahead and click on black. It's going to kind of highlight everything black. One of the things that they did that was quite cool, we'll just go through a couple of these themes. Let's go ahead and attach black steel. And you'll notice that they have just a very, very easy way to go in and change and manipulate these colors. One of the things that they added that was pretty cool is if you apply a theme that makes one of your indicators, or it's something that's plotted on a chart hard to see, I'm just going to go ahead and do green. We'll do the oscilloscope view right now. You'll notice that everything that was green before was actually automatically lightened for me so that I can see it even though I've changed the chart background. And so then I don't have to go in and try and find it and identify it. It's actually something very cool that they added. All of the stuff that you're plotting on your chart, even if you change the color, will still be visible. You won't have to be tabbing to try and find where your indicators were. It's just going to be available for you. I'm not a huge fan of the oscilloscopes theme though, so let's go ahead and just kind of go to, I do really like black steel. It kind of matches kind of the feel that you have with Zenith, and it's one of my favorites. And very quickly, I'm going to go ahead and just show you how we'll do bright white, okay? And we'll leave it at bright white for the rest of it. So those are the ideas for what a theme is and kind of what themes do. And just to kind of recap those real quick, those are the list. And I'm not going to read it out. That's a list of the themes that are available. So the next thing I want to talk about is the scroll. So with the scroll, you'll notice down here, I love kind of the functionality of the new scroll bar. It makes things a lot easier. You'll notice right here, there's an image that's embedded underneath here that you can kind of see what's happened in the whole chart loaded history. So I can see right here, this is, if I scroll back in time, that's going to be the 2020, or I'm sorry, the coronavirus. Yeah, the 2020 coronavirus drop. I can see where that is on the chart. So without even zooming out, I can kind of get an idea of where we're at in time, how the chart is priced compared to where it's been priced in the future. I can see right here, just visually, that this is a high point for the Dow. This right here looks like to be the highest value that we've had, and that I can see without even scrolling back and looking at it, although I probably would. And we've actually made that easy to do as well. In the current date range, you can see where it's highlighted what we're currently looking at. So this right here is right here on the date range. And this is also fully manipulatable, changeable. Let's use easier words today. So like, for example, if I wanted to see more time, I can actually click on this little splitter bar, and I can go back in time, and I can just very, very easily smooth it out and see more data or less data. Okay. In addition to that, I can move by clicking. I can click on different chart segments. So if I do want to see that 2020 drop, I can just click on it. And what's going to happen is it's going to actually move to that view. And one of the things I like about this, which is kind of subtle, but if you'll notice, I'm going to move that back. And there's a bit of an animation, and it kind of previews all of the chart as it moves it for you. I just think that's slick. We can also click and zoom on different things. If we just click down, you want to zoom in or out of the chart, we can do that as well. So it's great. Just to kind of reiterate what that does, it highlights all the current data. It previews all of the available data. You can see everything you've got loaded in there without kind of going back and forth on the chart. It gives you the ability to very easily go, okay, well, there was a big drop there. What was that? Let's take a look at that. You can click on it and it'll zoom into that area. It's always going to be coronavirus, though, as an FYI. Anyway, and it allows you to zoom in and out of the chart. So the scroll bar is actually pretty cool in terms of what they've done with it. So there's that. We're going to move into, and we're going to start talking a little bit more about kind of the changes and the additional customization that's been added to indicators. And you're going to see they've added a lot. I mean, well, they rebuilt it. So, but as they did it, they actually added quite a bit of things that they could be that you can do with it. So let's go ahead and kind of play with a couple of indicators. The first one that I'm going to actually add to the chart is one that I actually like to look at, a 21 period simple moving average. So again, the interface hasn't changed dramatically, even though the whole engine underneath it has. We didn't move anything around. So if you know how to drag and drop an indicator into MetaStock, you can. One of the things that they did add when you are dragging indicators off, they kind of have a smart knowledge. So if you're adding a moving average to a chart, it's going to go kind of where you expect it to go. Whereas if you're adding a MACD, it will automatically open up a new window for you. Let's start though with the moving average. And again, we do have the most recently used. So Kelly did a demo yesterday in MetaStock, and he used a moving average. So it's up at the top, so I don't even have to look very close for it. I'm going to go ahead and drag this onto the screen, though, and I'm going to drop it just like I did in the old MetaStock. And I'm going to go ahead and set it to the parameters that I want. Here we've got a 21 period simple moving average based on the close. None of that is new. It's still very, very easy to actually add. I'm going to come over here to the, and what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to go ahead and click on OK on the chart. And so you can see that we've added it to the chart. We've added it to red. I do want to show you kind of some of the different ways that you can actually plot this now, though. So just as before, I'm going to double click into the moving average. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this color style, and you're going to notice that there are a few more options. For example, I could do line. Okay. I could do a stepped line. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. And you see that's just stepped. Instead of smoothing out the values, it just steps it down every day. And so you can see exactly where it is. We can do a filled line. Okay, so if I apply that, we'll go ahead and apply that to a chart. Okay, and again, I do have the ability to set the opacity for this. And so if I want to be able to kind of see that it's shaded, if I'm more bullish on a stock when it's above the 21 and more bearish when it's below 21, I can have this fill in here. And what I'm going to do is I just want to set the opacity a little bit lighter. I sure hope that's the right word I'm using. Maybe Greg, you can tell me if I'm using the wrong word. But let me go ahead, and what I'll do is I'm going to come in here to the fill color again. I'm going to go ahead and click on advanced, and I'm just going to drag that a little bit lighter. Go ahead and click on OK. And now I can still see the chart under it. It's just subtle. I like it to have it subtle, but now I can have a visual reminder that it's below this 21 period moving average. and therefore it might be a little bit more bearish. And so that is an option that I really like. In addition to that, let's go ahead and double click back into that. You're going to have the additional plotting styles like the step fill line, dots, histogram. Those kind of things are going to be available as well. Okay, and we'll just show you. We'll show you what a step filled line looks like. It looks like the filled in stepped line. So again, it's just they've made kind of it a little bit easier. The other thing that I kind of like, let's go ahead and go back in here real quick. And I do have the ability to set defaults for this. So now if I always want to look at this as a red line with 21 period every time, if I want to set a default for when I pull up moving averages, instead of having it default to whatever we set as the default, I can save my own defaults. So if I always want it to be a filled line, there's a default button here. I can go ahead and click on default and save this current page as the default. And that means next time I add a moving average, it's going to be kind of exactly the way I want it to be. And maybe I'll just change the periods or something like that. Maybe I'll change the color. But by default, it's going to have all the settings that I want there by default. So that's really, really cool that they've added the ability to do that. Okay. All right, no word on whether opacity is the correct word. One thing that we're going to do here is I want to show you kind of how Bollinger Bands kind of work as well. Let me go ahead and take the 21 period moving average off of here. What I'm going to do is I'll just grab the Bollinger Bands, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and drag that onto the chart as well. And again, it's not a different process than the one that you're used to, but I wanted to kind of show you that we do have the ability to shade and highlight in different ways as well. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it on the chart here. You'll notice that we've got shading between the bands, and that's brand new to MetaStock as well. I'm going to go ahead and double click into it, and we'll just talk about the parameter page and kind of the ability that they've given to control different things. So you'll notice that we've got different options for the upper, the middle, and the lower band. You can set the plot style to band or histogram, or you can change that if you want. I'm going to leave the color as red, but I'm going to go ahead and change the opacity on the fill. And basically what I will do here is we'll make it a little bit lighter. I like it a little bit more subtle than is the default. We'll go ahead and click on OK there. We'll leave it the default weight and style. For the middle band, I'm going to leave that as a line. We'll leave it red. That's totally fine. For the lower band, I'm going to basically set that as red for the fill, but I'm also going to adjust that opacity a little bit lower. So just so it's a little bit more subtle, I like to be able to see the price. And you can set this as dramatic or as subtle as you want to. And that's what I really like, some of the controls that they've given you here. That looks really good for the way I'd want to look at a Bollinger Band. I've got the bottom filled in red, and I was able to kind of set it exactly the way I want to. Again, if that's something that I'm going to set every time, I can set it as the default as well. Okay. We did add, I'm going to go ahead and kind of plot a MACD histogram, and I'll just show you that smart select feature. So if I drag this and drop it on the chart, by default, let's go ahead and click OK real quick. It's going to open up a new window. It's going to say, hey, most of the time people want to look at MACD in its own window, so it'll open up a new inner window for you. You'll notice that this is the kind of the popularized version of MACD, where they have the MACD value, the moving average, and then the histogram underneath it. That's something that I actually wanted them to add because it's become, well, I think it was Lambda Rajki that actually popularized this way of looking at MACD. It was very, very simple to add, but we've added this as a new indicator as well, which just basically, if you're familiar with MACD, this is the MACD, this is its signal line, and the histogram underneath is the difference between the two values. So something that they added. Another thing that they added, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I like to keep my charts clean. Let's go ahead and delete this as well. Let's go ahead and delete the Bollinger Bands. Yes, the new charting engine that we have has the ability now to plot into the future with indicators that are designed that way. So right now, I'm going to show you the Ichimoku Kinko key indicator. If you use this in your charting, it's a really good indicator. I've used it to program different things over the past, and I use it for some of the scans. Ichimoku is a very, very popular way of looking at the chart. The big significant difference here is now your Ichimoku cloud, as you can see right here, is going to plot into the future. In the old version of MetaStock, the old charting engine, this was never a possibility. Now we're able to kind of plot that display into the future as you'd expect. Okay, and then I think the last thing that we're going to talk about when it comes to indicators, I'm going to go ahead and delete that off of the chart, is volume. So one of the requests that we have is the ability to color code volume based on different parameters. We've added that as a very, very easy way to do it. So in the indicator quick, it's already on the chart, volume up, down, but in the indicator quick list, it's going to be defined as volume up, down, and you can drag it and drop it on any chart that you want. As part of the parameters here, I'm going to double click in here. Part of the parameters is going to allow you to kind of determine how up down is calculated as the volume. So you can set your up color, I'll just leave it at green. You can set your down color, I'll leave that as red. Up down field, I can base it on the close relationship to the close. So if I'm doing that, if we have a close that's higher than the previous close, you're going to have a green bar. Or we can also, the other way we can look at that is volume. So let me show you volume real quick. Basically, the way that this gets colored is if volume is greater than it was the bar before, then your volume will be colored green. If it's less than it was the day before, it's going to color red. So you have both of those options, either the close to close relationship or the volume amount to the previous day. And you can, again, just like anything else in MetaStock, you can easily set it just by double clicking on it right here. I'm going to leave it as close to close relationship. So there you go. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything for indicators. So we talked about how you can do the different pot styles, line, step line, filled line, those types of things. I showed you Bollinger Bands, how you can fill between values. All values now plot in the title bar. I didn't really talk about that, but all of the values will now, for any of your indicators, will plot up in the title bar. You can set also indicators to be invisible. So like for our example, if you had a Bollinger Band here, and let's just really quickly apply it. If we didn't want to have a middle line here, you can go ahead and just set it to be, let me go to the properties page for it. There is an invisible as a style. Oh, I'm sorry, as a plot style. Oh, it's just right here, check mark, visible. I kind of got stuck on that in the Duo training too. You just check mark this if you don't want one of your lines to be visible, and you apply it, and then it's no longer available or no longer visible. I'm gonna go ahead and add it back in there though, apply. That is something that they added as well. Smart plotting indicators where you drop them and they're going to figure out where you want to put them by default, whether they're usually going in an inner window or not. The up-down volume, the MACD histogram, the ability for the cloud to plot into the futures, and also the P variable. If you use that, congratulations, it will display on indicator values automatically. Okay, so that's indicators. I think I kind of covered everything that I wanted to cover with indicators. Please let me know if you have any questions. We're going to move into all of the changes we made in regard to drawing tools. So here's what we're going to be talking about. And they've made some incredible changes when it comes to like the drawing tools, things that I really like. So we'll start with the one I like the most. Let's go to trend lines. So again, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to tell it not to tell me those errors again. I meant to delete it. And we'll just talk a little bit about trend lines and kind of the customization that we have. Again, we haven't changed the functionality of a trend line. So if I want to draw a trend line on a chart, I would do it the exact same way that you're used to. If you're using older versions of MetaStock, here's the trend line tool. I'm going to go ahead and draw it just like I would in classic MetaStock, like so. Okay. There are some differences though, not initially and not by default, but if I wanted to come in here and show some different things, there's the left extension, there's the right extension, I can do those. There's a snap mode. We can snap this to price, which we could do before, or to period. If you're familiar with kind of the way trend lines worked in the legacy charting engine, if you would basically, it would always have to snap to a bar. So you wouldn't be able to start a trend line in the middle of a bar. It had to start on a bar. Now you can do that, but it's not something that you have to do. If you want to do that, you want to select snap to period. Okay. Down here under the performance data, I can add a left arrow or a right arrow. Let's go ahead and add a right arrow, apply. So I can easily add both a left and a right arrow. But what I really like is I have the ability to show a value. So for me, I use trend lines to measure things quite a bit. I'm actually going to draw a new trend line on a chart here to show what are we looking at? The Russell and then the 2020 drop. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this trend line from the top to the bottom. That's good enough for kind of demo purposes. I'm going to go ahead and double click on that, and I'm going to show a left arrow. Okay, or not a left arrow. I'll put a right arrow on there, but I'm going to show a label. So with label, I can say I want to know what the performance change was, or I can want to know, and I can measure that in terms of percent change or points. So I'm going to leave that at percent change, and I can also show the number of bars. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that real quick. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so that you can just kind of see it a little bit better. I like to have things, I'm blind in this eye and I can't see out of this eye. So I like to have things a little bit bigger. I'm going to go ahead and click apply here. But you'll notice that when I did that, I'm going to zoom in as well. Let me go ahead and click on OK here. You'll notice that it's telling me that right here, let me just zoom in exactly to this area. Right here, this drop was 41.87% down, and it happened over a 21 period. So now I know that it's measuring it for me. I don't have to count how many bars exist in this trend. I don't have to do math. I can know that it was a 41% drop. And then if I wanted to kind of just compare that to kind of where it took us to get back to that, let's say I wanted to kind of compare that, how long did it take us to revert to normal? We go ahead and kind of just change this trend line a little bit. We'll say that it took there to get, I can go in there and I can save that performance information. I can show the number of bars. I can make it a little bit bigger. And if I always like to look at it bigger, I can save that as a default, which I'm not going to do because this is a demo machine, but I can set that as a default so that every time it comes in here, I can do it. So I go ahead and click on OK. For it to get back to the same initial level, which would be a rise of 69%, it took 142, almost half a year, right? Over half a year. If there's 250 or so trading days in a year, that would take over a year to get back to where it was. Okay. If we measured to here, it was almost retraced all the way there. So that's one of the things that you can also go in here and do custom labels for a default that I'll be personally using every time I draw a trend line. I want to see that performance information. You can do it in either percent change, which is what I like. If I do points, it's not too much different. I'll go ahead and click apply. You'll just say it'll just give you a points value instead of a percent change. You can, if you want to, also just make a custom label. I'll make this Jeffrey's line, I guess. I'll go ahead and click on apply. You can do any type of a label that you want. So yes, me too, MetaStock. Trendline enhancements are one of my favorite changes. Like I love the ability to be able to count these performance changes. So absolutely one of my favorite changes in there. So again, with that, just to kind of, you can add the arrows. I'm looking at my notes. You can show up the performance information. You count the bars. You can add custom labels, and you have the ability to snap those to price or period, either way, or leave them floating. So there you go. And actually, that's one of the bullets that I have. Most of the tools that we actually add have the ability to snap to price or period. And by default, they won't snap to either one, but you can obviously, you can set that right here in the snap mode, and you can kind of save it as your default as well. Okay. One of the other things I want to show you is saving as defaults is huge, particularly with Fibonacci tools. One of the things that I've been asked here for people that want to use customizable Fibonacci levels, you could customize Fibonacci levels in the old version of MetaStock, but you can save that as an option. So let's go ahead and draw a Fibonacci line on the chart right now. Again, it's the same process that you're familiar with. this isn't going to change dramatically for you. What you're going to notice is the charts look a lot better and you have more options, and they seem a little bit snappier. I just really love them. But if I wanted to draw a Fibonacci retracement level, let's go ahead and draw it from that top point to the bottom point right here. You'll notice right now with Fibonacci's, with the new Fibonacci tools, it shows the percentage levels and a points value. So right here, our low point is 0%. It's set at 94.84. That's listed for all of the values as well. If I come in here to Fibonacci retracement properties, you'll see that I can set the snap period. I can show the retracement levels. I can even make it a little bit bigger for my blind eyes. So let's do that. And I can even change the font or bold them or underline them, stuff like that. The other thing I can do is I can come in here to color and style, and I can actually set default line studies. So if I wanted them to be all of the lines to default down to, like, let's say red with a dotted style, I could do that, and you notice all of the lines change. So let me go ahead and apply that. We've got them all changed to kind of the default setting. I can change all of the lines all at one time right here very, very easily. In addition, I can set the color of the control line. So if I come in here and change the control line, it'll just make the line, the control line is just, I don't have it plotted, it's just this line right here. You'll notice I can have control over what that control line looks like if I want to change that. I also can change all of the lines individually or add and remove levels. So you could add and remove levels with MetaStock before, but you couldn't save those values. So now, let's say for some reason I wanted to do maybe a 75% retracement. I can go ahead and type in 75 there. I can go ahead and click on add. I can apply that change and my 75% level will be there. Okay. I could set all of these to be kind of rotating colors. So if I wanted to kind of just have a little bit of a depth to the chart, for example, I can go ahead and set these colors individually. I can make them exactly as pretty as I want them to be. I'll go ahead and apply that. But I don't have to do that every time either. I can save this as my default. And then by default, all of my lines are going to have that style. They're going to be red and black, whatever the settings I want every time I draw it. And so I think that's just a huge change, because people that use their own Fibonacci levels, they've wanted to be able to actually draw that and save it. And those settings are now changeable. So I'm not going to save any defaults here. While we're here, we'll just go ahead and click OK. But the Fibonacci tools have changed in a very dramatic way, both with the addition of showing the points and the percent, but also the ability that you have to customize everything. So let's go ahead and kind of go back in here. We did also, we worked with Don Fishback quite a bit in terms of his odds probability cones. And I think that we may be kind of very unique in our probability cones. We just did a huge upgrade, and Don, I want to say thank you to Don. I'm sure he's watching this video right now, but he was very, very helpful in kind of creating the new probability cones. He's always easy to work with and a good guy. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the odds probability cones. I just want to show you how they're different. So I'm going to go ahead and plot them on a chart. You'll notice that everything's still animated. I'm going to go ahead and drop it on the chart. And you'll notice we basically work with Don. And one of the things that he wanted was the ability to display multiple cones. So I'm going to go ahead and double click in the properties because it helps me remember what we're talking about. But you'll notice right here, I'm just going to move this off to the side for a second. We've got a 68%, that's the darker color here, and a 95% probability zone. It's going to automatically calculate the historical volatility based on where we put this on the chart. It's set that to 1008. You can also set that either to a specific number, or you can a specific volatility percent in terms of your calculation style. I can also add my own probability levels. So if I wanted to add in like a 75% probability, I can go ahead and click on OK, 75, click on add, go ahead and apply that, and I can add as many of those cones as I want to. Also, you are going to have, of course, complete control over the colors of the cones and the control line as well there. Okay, we'll go ahead and save the default. You can set defaults with the drawing tools. So you only have to, you can set it and forget it. So a few other things. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this right here. Go ahead and delete that from the chart. Crosshairs, if I am looking at stuff with crosshairs, which you can do in MetaStock, you can do it in 17 with the 19. But I want you to notice that as I move this around the chart, you can see just by looking at where the crosshair value is that I'm at 220.857. There's a notification diamond in the axis there for me, and I can know that I'm exactly on 3.221. So we added the ability when you're looking at crosshairs to see exactly where you are in terms of price and in terms of time. Okay, so that's pretty cool too. And then we also made it a few changes and a few updates. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the crosshairs here, and I'll just show you kind of real quickly the changes we made to Andrew's pitchfork. So if you're familiar with Andrew's pitchfork, I'm going to draw kind of a starting point and a high and a low point, and it's going to give me Andrew's pitchfork channel. The changes that we made for this tool based on the people that are using it and the people that wanted to kind of have a tool, well, I'll just show them to you. If I come into the properties page, again, the same way you did before, double click on it. It does have the snap to period or snap to price. The thing that I'm going to kind of show you is the render type. So by default, this is going to be a standard render type. And certainly we're not going to start a class about the different render types, but if you want to know, you can click on help. The help in MetaStock is amazing. But like if we come into shift, we can click on apply, and it's going to do a shift value, a shift pitchfork. We can also do a modified shift. We'll go ahead and click on apply. And I was like, well, what's the difference? And so what I did is what I'd recommend you do if you're interested in the pitchfork and understanding the differences. Just click on the help file here. It's been updated with all of the tools to kind of show you what they are. But this will tell you that the standard is as a center line from the first point at the mid between the second and third point that you draw. Shift starts shift just starts the value a little bit differently, and the modified shift starts it a little bit differently based on that. So it's a good resource if you want to understand exactly what standard is versus shift versus modified shift. Just go into the help file. It's very well documented, as is everything in MetaStock. So there you go. I'm not sure which thing was another of your favorites, but but there's so much in here. Let me go ahead and click on OK and delete here. And we'll go ahead and do this. And I think that brings us to the end of the drawing tools. Let me just go ahead and go back into the PowerPoint real quick. You have the trend line, performance information, custom labels, count the bars, snap to price. Most tools have snap to price or period as an option that you can use. Save your defaults. It's absolutely huge. My defaults include the price performance information. You can change colors per line. You can save those changes. You can save the default so that every time you draw that line in the future, it's going to be there the way that you want it without set it and forget it. We changed the odds cone. We added the probability levels. We changed pitchfork. We added the kind of the crosshair information, and we made it easier to access text properties, which is not something that I showed, but it's actually, let me show it to you real quick. If we put text on a chart, which is still the same process as it used to be. Hello. I can go ahead and put that on a chart. If I want to go in and change the format or the font or the color, I can just double click onto it to get into the properties dialog box. I don't have to go to a font button. They just put it right here. So I can go in and just chat it and set it. I also think, let me go ahead and double click on here. You can save defaults for this page too. So you can always have it bigger. You can always have it blue. You can always have it. You don't have to set it every single time, which is cool. I'm going to delete that. Okay, I did miss that one. That's why we look at our notes. So this upgrade is massive. Okay, moving on. X and Y-axis changes. So I'm actually going to show these in MetaStock in terms of how they work. You're going to be able to guess exactly how you get into these options. They're not hidden. They're not buried. They're where you would expect them to be. So with that being said, what I want to do first and foremost is actually add an indicator back onto this chart. We'll do Ichimoku Kinkohui. And then I'm going to add that in here. And we'll just go ahead and scroll to the very back of this chart. And we'll also add that MACD histogram. And just because I want to show off kind of some of the abilities of it. Okay. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to double click on the x-axis. Okay. You'll notice that you can still control the scale. You can have it automatic or manual, and you can kind of determine exactly what that looks like. Here, we do have the ability to do a semi-log scale, invert scale. You could do that before. You can show a base price security label, but you can also show the indicator last value. So if I have indicator last value, the last values on the indicators are going to actually be there. I can also save that as the default. Let me go into this one. I'm going to actually save that as the show indicator last value. And we'll go ahead and apply that. And you'll see now we can see where all the MACD levels are. We can see where all of our actual Ichimoku indicators are as well. So it's the volume, which is already turned on. Okay. In terms of, let me go ahead and kind of back out here. In terms of some of the other functionalities that we've added by units, what we're going to do is we're going to use the symbol definition by default. For those of you that trade commodities, if you're looking at something that's basically quoted in 30 seconds or 64s or 8s, we have the ability to fractionalize your display. So you'll be able to see it at the same price that it reports in, which is huge, something that our commodity traders really wanted. So if I wanted to push this into 130 seconds, I can go ahead and highlight 130 seconds. I can apply. And then instead of seeing a decimal, I'll see 207 and 1930 seconds, as you can see right there. Okay. I can also dictate, I can go up to 256 or down to 1/2. I can also dictate exactly how many decimals are shown. So if I go to like 4 decimals, for example, and apply that, it's just going to display 4 decimals deep or 6 decimals deep or any of that kind of stuff. I can also truncate the price labels. If I click on apply, it'll actually kind of truncate those price labels a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and go to 2. We'll go ahead and click on apply. And there you go. That's basically what they've done. Oh, I love this too. Hold on just a second. Going to clean up this chart just a little bit. Let me go ahead and kind of go back in here. And we'll go to grid. Okay. And before we had the ability to show grid lines, and this is what a grid line looks like horizontally in MetaStock, we could do that for minor grid lines. One of the things, and they look really nice. One of the things I like, what I have set as my default is grid bands. I'll go ahead and apply that. And you'll notice instead of having lines, which I could have the lines and the bands, instead of having lines, it's just going to give me kind of a subtle highlight where the actual price levels are. So I can kind of see it. It looks neat to me. I like it. You can actually just show grid bands there. So that's a thing that they've also done with it. In terms of the x-axis properties, let's go ahead and kind of click on that. They added the ability to more easily set the display range. You can kind of come in here and actually have it load the maximum. You can have it display a specific data. You can increase or decrease the margin. You do have the ability to actually hide these as well if you don't want to look at them. And they come kind of expand and contract. But they've cleaned up this dialogue. They've made it a lot more sensible, a lot more logical. And of course, they added the ability to do the grid bands as well. So we can go ahead and do that. I think grid bands in both directions, just personally, for me, I don't like that. I actually like to have them horizontally, but not vertically. But that's a nice thing about the kind of level of customization. You can do exactly what you want. So, but I love the grid bands. Let me go ahead and kind of hide those. Go ahead and click on OK. And there you go. Okay. And I think that's really covers it all. Let me go back into the page. So with the y-axis, you can toggle on or off the indicator values if you want to be able to see what the indicators are. Right there is diamonds. You can do that. You can truncate the price labels. You can also change your display limit units. So by default, it's actually going to use a symbol defined view, but you can also change that to fractions or decimals. And you can determine how many decimal places you want to go out to. In a lot of cases, if you're looking at Forex where it's priced out way out into the decimals, that's very, very helpful. You can enable and also disable the major minor grid lines. and you have grid bands. So for the x-axis, we improve the date view for better viewing of periods of times. We have the ability to show grid bands. We've improved the manipulation of how you can load in things and disload things and that kind of stuff. And we've also minimized and maximized settings within the properties dialog box. So there you go. Whew. I'm getting good at reading. Okay. I do also kind of want to talk about just other things. Obviously, the chart is all new, but there's also some other things that we've done that I actually really, really like in here. And you can kind of see this, this list. And I just kind of show you what that means. So we've got a most recently used for selected time periods. If you like to use certain specific time periods, we've actually made it a little bit easier. So right now, you'll notice I have a 3-day, a 7-minute, a 75-minute, and a 15-minute chart here. If I come in and make a custom chart, so a custom periodicity, so let's say I wanted to actually come in here, I'm going to do ticks. I'm going to do a 75-tick chart. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And two things. One, you'll notice it says before in MetaStock in the old charting engine, it would just say intraday, right? This is way more descriptive. Intraday, tick format, 75 ticks, okay? So if I change that, now you'll notice that it's most recently used. So that 75 tick is one of my most recently used. If I'm using that all the time, I don't have to go and set it again. I can just toggle to it. And it's going to keep up to 4 of those as your most recently ones. If I go to a 75-minute chart, it's going to say intraday minute 75. So it's way, way more descriptive in terms of instead of just an I, telling you exactly what that custom. Actually, before with a custom time frame, it was just telling you C for custom. Now it's telling you exactly that you're at a 75-minute chart. You can see that intraday minute 75. Okay. If I change it to hourly, it's going to say intraday H instead of just I. Way more descriptive in terms of kind of what's being told to you. Okay. Those before I forget, those custom timeframes. So we have the 4 custom timeframes here. Those will also move over to the Power Console. So if I'm in the Power Console, and let's say we're opening up a chart, if I wanted to use an interval, those 4 most recently used timeframes are there. Okay. If I come in and I want to do a scan, those intraday periods are there, with the exception of the intraday tick period. You'll be able to plot them on the chart, and you'll be able to have them in the Power Console. Okay. In addition to kind of those changes, other things that they've added is you can change the tile setting while the charting is loading, while the charts are loading, so you don't have to wait till all the charts load to actually change the tile setting. That's kind of cool. We've actually added 2 things into the chart properties: the ability to show inactivity gaps and the ability to control a time zone. So if we come in here to chart properties, I'm just going to kind of right click on here, going to go to chart window properties. I can set a time zone. Okay. Now everybody's like I'm here in Utah. Right now I'm looking at Eastern time, and I'm very used to Eastern time. I think I'm going to leave it at Eastern time for all of my charts. But if I wanted to change that to Mountain time, which is where I'm at, I have that ability. So you can now set a time zone. I'm going to leave that as Eastern time because I'm very comfortable with it. In addition, with the trading sessions over here, I have the ability, if I want to, I can have it display in activity gaps. So before, if there wasn't anything happening in the chart, it would basically start the next bar. When something started happening, if I display in activity gaps, it'll leave a space so that you know nothing was happening at that particular time. Okay, so that's right here under trading sessions, and that's a brand new feature that they included with it. Okay, and I think that's it for other updates. Let me go ahead and close this out. Let me go ahead and so most recently used for the time periods, these are identification. I really like that, how you can actually see what it is without, it's no longer way easier to identify. Changing the tile settings as the chart loads, showing inactivity gaps, showing time zones in the charts. Very, very cool stuff that's been added. Okay, and that is charting in a nutshell. That's basically the additions or the things that they've added to charting. We're going to kind of go into the other things, just how far are we doing? We're 54 minutes into it. I'm going to say that we can probably get through this within about 20 more minutes, maybe 30. So bear with me. There's a lot of stuff for us to go through. I just want to make sure I cover it. There's so many different things that are available. So we've made a lot of enhancements to the Power Console as well. I'll go ahead and kind of walk through those. Let's go ahead and kind of open up the Power Console. So here's the Power Console. It's where everything happens. One of the things that we've added is search functionality on a lot of the different charts. And this has been actually very, very helpful for me for helping customers who might want to know things that I don't know off of my head. Like, for example, like I want to actually, we'll get customers that want to know where they can trade crude oil, what exchanges it's available, or what exchanges that it's available for. So right here, you've got sort by name and symbol. This just determines the sort order in MetaStock. But if I wanted to find every place where crude traded, I can actually come in here and I can search for crude oil. Okay, and now all of the instrument lists that don't include the words crude oil in them are going to go away. So I can now actually see that there's nothing that trades there. But if I kind of look at here, right here, there is a crude oil credit lease ETN that you can trade. On NASDAQ, there's 3 crude oil ETFs that you can trade on the New York Stock Exchange. There's Amex, ProShares crude oil. This is just cool. That I can trade there. If I'm more interested in trading straight commodities, I could do that in Dubai. I probably do it in NYMEX, where I can find Brent crude oil, and I think the other crude oil, CLC1. So, but now I can very, very easily find that. I just thought of a use case for this. You know, a couple of years ago, well, actually, it wasn't a couple of years ago. Anything post 2020 feels like at least 4 years ago, right? But you remember when lumber actually just kind of went crazy? I want to find some ways to kind of trade that. I can now just search for lumber, and it's going to list all of the number. So I could easily know everything that was involved, or at least had lumber in the name. I think there was an ETF called Tree. So I can come in and I can actually see Tree, and there is an ETF that exists there. There's actually quite a few of them. I can kind of more easily find things in there. This search is actually very, very cool because there's so many instruments, there's so many different indices that are available. This will kind of give you an idea of, whether there's something optionable. Maybe you want to take an option on it. But just in terms of finding something, finding out where it trades, it's very, very helpful for that. Okay, you still do have the instrument search, so you can go in there and search. This just allows you to narrow the list that you're looking at. Okay, all right, cool. We've also have that in Explorer and System Test, but we've added the ability to do favorites. Well, we had favorites before in the scanner. What we've actually done with both explorations and system tests is if you have a list of favorites, you can actually have it right here, and it's a little bit easier to get to. So you have all of your explorations, but any of them that you've marked as your favorite explorations are going to be in this tab. Okay, and we can search for exploration. So you notice Kelly yesterday searched for everything that probably had candlestick in the name. I'm going to do something a little bit different. If I want to find everything that has MACD in the name, let me go ahead and search for that. And you'll notice that there's explorations. I can find cross up, cross down, divergence, the expert. And I can actually find everything that references MACD. Or maybe I want to find all the turtle trader scans, for example, right? There we go. Search for turtle. We've got turtle trader hybrid, turtle breakout, turtle breakout. Okay, so I can search for those. And then if I find some that I want to add to favorites, I can highlight them and just add all the selected explorations to favorites right there. Okay, so you can search for instruments on the instrument list, but you can also search for your explorations and your scans. Those are some enhancements that we've done for the system tester. Okay. The other things that we've done is right here in the chart tab. This is cool. You can actually expand and contract this option. So if you open up the same number of bars every time, it's just a little bit cleaner. You don't have to drill into the options if you want to change them. So there you go. All right, very cool. And I believe that is what we have in the Power Console. Let's go ahead and move on. We'll move into the Quote Center tab and kind of what we've added there. And this is actually pretty easy to show. So let me go ahead and go into Quote Center. I'm going to open up a Quote Center list. And what I'm going to do, just real quick, is I want to look at the Dow 30 indices, or constituents of the index. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and for the list I'm going to choose is the Dow Jones Industrials. I think the Dow is up a little bit today. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. I might be wrong on that, but we'll go ahead and open up this list in Quote Center. So we're just going to open up all 30 of these instruments. Now, I'll open up on this screen, which isn't a problem. I'll just move it over to that screen. As you know, it looks like it was maybe a little bit down today at the close, but as you know, there's about 30 instruments in Dow. I just loaded them all up. And what I can see, one of the things that we've added is I can see gainers and I can see losers. So out of this list of 30 or so, 13 went up and 17 went down. The ones that went up 43%, and the ones that went down 56%. So I can also use this if I load my portfolio into this list. I can see which ones are up, which ones are down, what percentage of my portfolio is up, what percentage of my portfolio is down, and it just gives you a real quick view into it. In addition to that, we basically set it so right here the grid settings are kind of in this button. They're a little bit cleaner. You can add or remove columns, which you could do before, but we've also added it so that the theme settings that you select here will also be selected in the Optionscope application. So if I set this to right now it's light, for example, we'll go ahead and have a light theme here. Next time when I open up Optionscope, it'll also have that light setting. Those settings are now shared. It assumes that if you like to look at it, one list of stocks, you like to look at your list of options in a very similar way. I'm going to go ahead and leave that as white too. So, and the other thing that they've added is if you're on this list and you open up a chart, it will by default open it up with the last settings that you used in the Power Console, so whatever template you had. So if you want to be able to control what template opens up on your chart, it's going to be whatever you had set this to every time. So if you're always using smart charts, it's always going to open up with your smart chart. If you've set this to a different template, like maybe the Mama Farmer or something, it'll open up from that template as well. Okay, so those are the changes that were made to Quote Center. A couple really handy ones. Some things to make it a little bit easier. Okay, we did a ton of work to Optionscope though, and I'm going to kind of walk through those. We put in a put call ratio for sentiment. You can view that on open interest and volume. Put in a lot of option strategies that you can actually put a profit time decay graph over. You can look at your top put calls, your top puts and your top calls, and you can customize colors for your risk halves. And again, it shares the same theme settings that you set for Quote Center. So let's just show you what this looks like in Quote Center. What I'm going to do right here, go ahead and close this down. Yes. And then what I'm going to do is, well, let's just open up a Quote Center. So, or not a Quote Center, an Optionscope. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Optionscope. I'm going to go ahead and type in Apple. And that's good enough. Again, you had these options before, but we'll look at expirations within the next 30 days. I'll look at about 10%. And we'll do the monthlies. So let's go ahead and open up those in Optionscope. It's going to go ahead and load that list up for me. I'm going to go ahead and make it a bit full screen so you can kind of really play with it. And based on kind of what I loaded in here, which was, what did I select again just a second ago? Expirations within 30 days, 10%, monthly. What I'm seeing here, and again, these grid settings have kind of been compacted up here, so you only have to worry about them if you're changing them. But now what I'm seeing right here is the number of calls and the number of puts. Now, to be really, really specific, this is a put call ratio. In other words, this calculation of the volume is based on the puts that you're looking at. So it's looking at everything that's within 10% of the money, unless I expand it out, and then it'll be looking at everything that's within the view. It's calculating what's in view is the important part here. So we can see what the volume on what calls was versus the volume on puts. We can see what the open interest in calls was versus the open interest in puts. And if I actually want to see what the top volume is, I can click on top, and it's going to highlight the top volume put for me. So you notice I clicked on top, it highlights this one, and this was the most active volume put today. If I wanted to see the one that had the most open interest, I can click on it. I think it was actually different. This one was the most, and this one had the most open interest. The other thing is if I have more options loaded, it will scroll to that top volume or that top put one based on volume or open interest. So Xavier's in there. The next version of MetaStock, I want to have a dark mode. That was a really good suggestion. Thank you for sharing it with us. Okay. Right here. Up. And we'll talk a little bit about our put call spreads and the strategies that are in here. So right here are the strategies that are available that you can kind of put in here. And we're certainly not going to go into huge detail because I'll very quickly get above my expertise. I've traded options quite a bit, but usually it was like a call, by a call or a put, which you can do. So we're going to go ahead and do a long call here. And what I'm going to do is just kind of show you how this profit loss graph works. So we'll go ahead and put in a long call. I can come in here and type in the instrument or the strike price or the buy price that I want. I can also just highlight it on the screen. So if I was coming in here, let's say I wanted to buy this call right here. Let's go ahead and highlight it. All I have to do is highlight it. It's going to go ahead and show me my price. Let me refresh the chart. Oops. Oh, let me refresh the chart, which is the easiest way to zoom out. I can see exactly immediately what my price was. So right now I paid $325 for this option. And I can see that just based on kind of the fill here. I can also see, you'll notice right here, there's legends. I can define the colors that all of this stuff goes on here. I can see where the underlying price is currently, right here. Apple is trading right here, right now. I can see what strike price my call is at. Okay, I can see where my break-even point. It's right here. This high. I'm going to actually change the color of that one real quick, just so you can see it a little bit better. It's 173.25. That's my break-even point. I can see my profit loss over time. So that easily I was actually going to be. I was able to go ahead and do my cover call or my long call. If I wanted to actually define another strategy, I'll just do another one real quick. Let's say that we wanted to do a straddle, okay, right here. And to say, okay, we're going to buy this one, okay, and then we're going to buy that one, and it's just going to give us. It's so easy to do. Can't explain what I was doing in terms of this, but we did a bit of a straddle, and it gives us our break-even points, our total cost, kind of our. We can go and see what exactly our price over time is. So very, very easy. There's quite a few different number of strategies that are available in there. And here's a complete list. You've got bear put spread, bear call spread, cover calls, long puts, married puts, short puts. You can now do a time to case graph over any of those. And very, very easily. This is the option I bought. There's my graph. That's all you have to do. Okay. We did talk about the top put call search. And the ability to set the colors. And again, it shares the settings with Optionscope. So there you go. Whew. Now we're going to just get into the other stuff that's actually also really cool. We added all of the Performance Systems Plus systems. If you're not familiar with Performance Systems Plus, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, but it's one of our best-selling add-ons on all time. We made some updates to the Haguro system, and we added some of the Darrell Guppy ATR indicators. So let's go ahead and kind of change right here. Performance Systems Plus, we negotiated with the Creator Trading Systems Analysis Group to include MetaStock, this add-on, with every MetaStock from here on out. And I want to say thank you. It was to Robert for allowing us to do this, because I do think that this is cool. Like if you use a lot of systems and you test a lot of trading ideas, having a lot of systems is very, very helpful. to say the least, because you can test them all, see what works well. And Robert did a pretty good, well, a really good job of actually, this is a list of all of the systems that are available. He did a lot of testing to actually come up with the systems that he wanted to include in Performance Systems Plus. Again, the Performance Systems Plus retailed for about $300. It's now included with MetaStock. It's now for free, and it's a huge addition. So when he came up with the systems that he wanted to include, he tested 10,000 combinations of systems against stocks. He used daily stock price with no trade delay and no stops. What he wanted to do was figure out stocks that worked well over a broad market of securities. And out of all that testing that he did, he excluded low price, low volume stocks. One of the things that he looked keenly at was a concept called trade efficiency, how much return you got versus how much time you were in the stock. He wanted it to have a better than 50% average. Okay, so out of the 10,000 or so combinations of stocks and systems that he tested, he came up with 80 systems in MetaStock. 26 of those have always been included for MetaStock since he created them. I think in MetaStock 10 or 11, it was way back then. But in addition to that, this 54 additional systems were available for about $300, and now they're just part of MetaStock because we bought the ability to include them for them. So now, if I wanted to test trading ideas, we'll go ahead and close out the Optionscope. In addition to all the other great systems that we've included with MetaStock over the years, if you just want to find the ones that say PSP or Performance Systems, right there's going to be another 54 of those. So I can search those, I can find them, and then I can actually test them all at the same time. I wouldn't do it this way though, because like the ACT systems and some of the other systems are really good. I'd encourage you to include those with your test. But all of these systems are now included in the Performance Systems Plus add-on. And so that was awesome. It's just, you have 54 additional systems, a total of 80. They've been historically tested, been very popular among our database, our best-selling add-on of all time. But now you've got all of those system tests, all of those experts, and what a great way, I mean, to add to the power of an already powerful tool. Like System Tester is such a cool tool, Explorer is such a cool tool, and now you just have even more systems that you can kind of test and scan for and find ideas for. So there you go. In addition to that, we did make some updates to the built-in Haguro system. I'm not going to go into those changes. I'll just tell you what they are. If you're familiar with the Haguro system, it's a very cool system. I developed it in conjunction with a friend of mine, Gary Burton, based on the work of Siki Shimizu. And we've done webinars on that. You can look on our channel. Oh, by the way, like and subscribe while you're there. But if you want to see demos or videos of the Haguro system, you can. The change that we made there is obviously we live in a way more volatile environment post-coronavirus as opposed to before. And with some of the percentages, I was looking for a 7% change to make things more meaningful, and we bumped that up to 10% change. We changed that in the exploration, in the expert advisor, and in the commentaries. So it's a subtle change, a good one, because things, especially right now, are crazy in terms of volatility. And so that's the reason that we did that. We also worked with Daryl Guppy to make some changes or to add some of his stops. I'm going to show you those on a chart in terms of the way that those work. Let me go ahead and it's a trailing stop. It uses ATR. There's some settings. I'm not going to read this to you. I'm just going to go ahead and go in here. And what I'm going to do is we'll change this back from an intraday hourly chart to daily chart. I'm going to apply just real quickly MACD expert, Equus, or actually MACD by MetaStock. Forgot we kind of removed all the Equus names from things, which I think was a good idea too. But let's come back here in time and let's say that we wanted to put in a stop loss based on Daryl Guppy's ATR stops. Okay, these are two indicators that we're just including as part of the thing that they were built on the work of Daryl Guppy. So if I'm going to find them on the list, I'm going to basically put a marker right here on this buy signal on 10/13 of 2021. I'm going to jot that down right here so I don't forget it in 2 seconds. 10/13/2021. We're going to say that we bought this MACD based on this signal, and we want to use the Darryl Guppy ATR. What I'm going to do is in the indicator quick list, I'm going to find it. It's under GT for Guppy Trader. So we're just going to scroll down to the GTs, and there's two options. There's GTA Traders ATR long and ATR short. If I'm making a long position, which is what I'm going to do right here, I want to use the ATR long. So we're going to go ahead and grab that one. And then I'm going to go ahead and just drop it on the chart. And I'm going to, and for this one, I need to tell it exactly what day I bought. So in this particular case, I did write it down so I wouldn't forget. It's the 13th day of the 10th month of the 21st year. Okay. I also have the number of periods in the ATR. I can set that to, by default, it's set to 14, which is what Darryl Guppy recommends. And then the multiplier that he uses is 1. I can also adjust that. Okay. This break on low or close, basically, if it hits a stop loss, on the low, if it hits a stop loss, it's going to get out because it's basing it on the low. On the close, it only breaks the stop loss if it closes below that stop loss. So by default, we have that set to 2, but you can change that. If you want a penetration of the stop loss to get you out, you can use that as well. You would just change this break on 1 for low. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and click on OK. We're gonna merge that with the scale on the right here. And you'll notice that here we have our stop loss. It's gonna go ahead and ratchet up until it gets us out right here. And then you'll notice that as soon as that's hit and penetrated, it's going to stop calculating, and it'll just be a horizontal line. So you're stopped out of the trade at that point. I'm going to do the GT ATR sell off of this signal, just so you can kind of see that one too. This sell date was 11/17/2021, and yes, I'm going to draw it down. I know I will forget it, and so we'll do the GT traders short. So we'll just go down here and show this. Forgot where G was in the alphabet, bear with me. Okay, so here we go. We'll do start day of the month was 11, month was 12, and then the year was 21, and then we'll just leave the defaults again. So we'll go ahead and merge that on the scale on the right. Actually, I got the month wrong, but I think you get the idea. It's just basically going to draw it on there. I mixed up the month, day, and the year. So if I go back in there, I could fix it. And I'm going to, so 12th day of the 11th month. Okay. Okay, and now we have that stop loss. And as soon as that was finally penetrated, it's going to get you out of that trade. Yep. So that's how that works. I think that's it. So again, with the ATR, it's work based on the work of Darryl Guppy. He was very, very gracious with his time in helping us develop it out. Uses a trailing stop using ATR, provides confirmation and stop loss points. And it's easy. If basically, if the stop is penetrated, it stops. Figuring out what the stop is. So thank you for Darryl. He worked really, really well with us to kind of make sure that that got correct. He checked several versions of it. I programmed it, but I had to get a lot of help with Williams because we kind of I got in a bit over my skis with that. So that's the upgrade. I hope you enjoyed it. It's huge. It's been basically, I think, 2.5 years since we had an upgrade. We've really wanted to kind of do some serious work in the chart, and we have. I love this upgrade. It's just like brand new charts. They look nice. They're very responsive. I think you're going to really, really enjoy this upgrade. We added a whole bunch of stuff to the power console. We added an additional 54 systems that are just included. This is probably the biggest upgrade we've done as IMA currently. I mean, it's the biggest upgrade we've done in a really, really long time. The programmers have been working really hard on it. I'd encourage you to check it out. I love it. So go to metastock.com/P222 if you're brand new to MetaStock and you want to sign up for the program. You can also go to metastock.com/MM222 if you want to upgrade. If you have questions, if you want to talk to us more about it, metastock.com/saleschat. You can also give us a call at 800-882-3040. So everybody, thank you for coming today. I hope that was helpful for you in terms of understanding everything that was new. How long I only went 20 minutes over this time, so I packed it into 20 minutes left. Anyway, I hope you get the upgrade. I hope you like it as much as I do. I want to say thank you for watching the video. I hope thank you for using MetaStock if that's an appropriate comment for you. If there's anything we can do for you or to get your upgrade, give us a call. 800-882-3040. Hope to see you at the next event. And thanks for coming. I hope you're doing well. Stay safe.